Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of the Bastards of Boston Baseball, another World Series edition for you guys. Blue Jays and Dodgers currently tied up in the series 2 apiece, and as it stands right now, Toronto is up 3-1 in the top of the 7th over the Dodgers, so could be 3-2 Toronto by the time this show is over. So we'll see how that goes. I'm Jason. I'm with Doug, Chris, and Terry, and guys, I think it's safe to say that we were pretty much all wrong about how we thought this series was going to go. I think, we were on a show last week saying, it's going to be the Dodgers. It may not be close. I know, Terry, you presented a path for the Blue Jays, which it looks like they're following, at least for the moment. I got to eat my words because I went on there and said it's going to be child's play for the Dodgers, and it has been anything but. It's been pretty entertaining series. So, definitely happy to see that. I guess we'll just start with you, Doug. Like, what were your thoughts going in, and how do you feel about it now that we're, here in Game 5, and it looks like, things are getting a little tighter now?
Yeah, I said sweep when we had that show, so I'm way off. But I've just been enjoying it. I mean, so much. I mean, it's just such an exciting series. Surprisingly so, I would say. I mean, it's not that I didn't believe in the Blue Jays to give us exciting baseball. I just didn't think anyone would beat the Dodgers. I just thought they were too good. And the Blue Jays lineup has just shown that they can put up runs on anybody, and if their pitching shows up, they can win any game. No matter who they're playing, and they've just put together exciting games. An 18 inning game is insane, but it's just been really really fun baseball to watch.
Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I had the Dodgers winning this series in 6 games. It doesn't look like that's going to be possible unless things change tonight. I'm still pretty confident the Dodgers can come back. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they came back and won the World Series. They're just too talented of a team. What I am shocked by is it's not so much the fact that the Blue Jays are scoring runs, because, I mean, they've shown throughout the season and even in the postseason, like, they could light up a scoreboard. That wasn't the question. I just thought that the way that their previous series, how it went with the Mariners, and how much energy that they had to expel to get past that series, specifically the pitching, that I just thought they were going to run short, especially against a Dodgers team that just absolutely just destroyed teams and swept on the way to the World Series. So that part is shocking. But listen, I mean, if Toronto pulls it off, like, you tip their cap to them. I certainly don't want to see them win as a Red Sox fan. Not that I hate the Blue Jays, but they're under vision, and I certainly don't want to watch a Canadian team win if I don't have to. So,
Terry.
Well, for starters, nobody in any month of the season, April, May, June, July, August, September, was saying, I think the Blue Jays might do it this year, And the Blue Jays kind of got hot, I think, from July forward. I don't remember exactly when they took the lead in the AL East, but it was some point towards the halfway point. And even then, we're like, they've always been capable of it, as we've said in recent shows. On paper, they have a team that should go to the World Series every year, and they finally did it this year, and they're making the most of it. And the path I kind of laid out was, think of the 2013 ALCS between the Red Sox and the Tigers. And the Red Sox, in my opinion, were the underdogs going in there. The Homer diehards would say, "Oh, no, Sox were always going to win that." Whatever, I'm not going to die on the hill. But the Jays have done a great job of being the underdog team here, and multiple guys stepping up, solid pitching throughout. They just haven't really, I don't know, they just haven't really backed down. And every game has been good. When you look at the box scores, it'll look like the Blue Jays scored a ton of runs in a couple of the games, but those didn't materialize until late in the games. Those were very high stress games until they had those big innings. And I'm looking back, and because I'm trying to figure out, like, when was the last great World Series? You had the Dodgers and the Yankees last year, total dud. The two most ideal markets and just a dud of a World Series. Year before that, you had the Rangers, Diamondbacks. Wasn't terrible, but wasn't epic either. You had two teams that, hadn't been that deep in the postseason for a while. So that in and of itself was a cool story. Go back the year before, Astros Phillies. That was a good World Series. I think most of us wanted the Phillies to win, but I wouldn't say epic. Braves Astros the year before that. Let's not talk about 2020. Nationals Astros Game 7. That might meet the criteria for epic, I would say. And then Red Sox Dodgers year before that, Astros Dodgers year before that. And then I think the best World Series this century, I would say, is the Cubs and the Indians at the time. That I think was the best World Series. Other than maybe 04.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
But that was a sweep. So I mean, it was great for us, but I don't know if it was great for, Oakland fans that just happened to be watching. So I guess to wrap up my opening take here, this is a top 1 or 2 World Series so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you really have to go, a little bit of a ways back because, yeah, like last year's was a bit of a dud. And look, everyone was expecting this one to be a dud. A lot of people were expecting the Dodgers to just kind of walk away with this one pretty easily. Maybe Toronto steals a game, but otherwise, it's going to be the Shohei Ohtani show. And instead, it's been the Vlad Guerrero Jr. show. And I think that's been a huge part of this is that Toronto's superstar has shown up. And, this is big for him because it's his first World Series. He just signed the big contract. He's the centerpiece of that team. So if he didn't show up and they were falling flat and they were, got swept out of there, that becomes a storyline. Now it's not. Now the storyline is Vlad Guerrero is actually making Shohei look human, which I thought was kind of the turning point. Like when the Dodgers were up 2-1 going into Game 4 and they'd Shohei on the mound, you're kind of looking at it, at least I was going, okay, here we go. Toronto had their fun. They got their one game. Now Shohei's going to, he's going to go out there and shove, and it's going to be the Ohtani show, and this is how the Dodgers going to start to run away with it. And instead, that home run from Guerrero, I think it shook him. Like, I think Shohei went into that game feeling invincible. We talk about him as if he's invincible. The last couple of years, no one's been able to touch what he's done. And Vlad Guerrero Jr. with one swing shattered his shield a little bit. So I think that was a huge turning point was Game 4 because not only did they even up the series, but it kind of put a lot of doubt in the Dodgers' heads. And I think it, really gave a huge momentum swing to the Blue Jays as sort of like a, why not us kind of thing. Like we could be that team of destiny that, yeah, everyone's picking the Dodgers and, here we go. We open up Game 5 with back-to-back homers. We make World Series history. It's never happened before where a World Series game is opened up with back-to-back homers. So they're doing a lot of things that make them look like a team of destiny. Now, does that mean they're definitely going to win the World Series? No, of course not. They got to take care of business tonight and not blow this one. And then they got Yamamoto facing them in Game 6. That could easily be, another shutout performance from him. So with all those factors, like it really is turning into a much better World Series than I think we could have ever expected.
Yeah, and I mean, and star power, just to add to it. I mean, Shohei Ohtani doing things we've never seen before. Now you got leadoff home runs like we've never seen before. I mean, Vladdy's just incredible, making plays in the field. That throw he had in game 3, right? That 18-inning game, that throw he had across the diamond to third was incredible. It's just had moments. I think that's what really makes a great World Series too is moments that you can look back on and remember. And this is giving you a lot of them already. And it just has it has a 7-game type of feel right now. I can see Toronto, pulling this out and they just scored again. And, but it's hard to pick against Yamamoto tomorrow. He's been lights out. So I would, that's how I would see it. I would pick the Dodgers in Game 6, and I think it would come down to Game 7, and it would just further your case, Terry, for being a real epic, classic.
Yeah, if it goes game 7, it
Yeah,
might end up being the best. The Cubs reversing the curse in a game 7 that went
right.
into extra innings.
Great.
That could be hard to beat, but man, it's up there. Chris,
Those Rangers ones too. Those Rangers that were like one strike away, like twice. Right.
true,
Yeah,
actually, that you got to put that one up there. Yeah, that was game 7.
they were a strike away in Game 6 and Game 7, I think, or something. Or
I
they were
think
getting
so.
twice in Game 6 or something like
Yeah.
that. They had,
It
yeah,
was against the Cardinals.
right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think Nelson Cruz played much outfield again after that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, in reflecting on the previous, what it seems like 20 World Series that we just reviewed, I mean, there hasn't been that many great ones. Obviously, there's bias here because we're Red Sox fans, and I think the one thing I would say is the 0-4 one. I think even though it was a sweep, a lot of those games were close, number one, and the fact that a team could reverse a curse, and it was long before the Cubs were in a position to do it themselves, and I think people like. But yeah, there hasn't been that many close ones and exciting ones as far as from a 7-game series factor. I think some of the major takeaways with this one is, listen, when you have star power on both sides, right, and they
Yeah.
come and they show up and they play, it just goes to show that anyone can win, right? And especially in the sport of baseball, of all the 4 major sports, it's the least team oriented in the sense that you got a pitcher and you got a hitter, right? Both their teammates cannot help in those situations. One of them is going to get the job done. If the hitter hits the ball, whoever it's going to, their teammates ain't helping them catch that ball, right? Ain't helping them field it, other than making a good throw. But the point is, it's a very individualized sport. And I guess the encouraging part of this whole thing that the Blue Jays are proving is this vaunted Dodgers team that I think, and we've said on our podcast, right, where it's like, who the hell is going to really challenge them for the next 4 or 5 years? It just doesn't seem reasonable or feasible. And we're on the precipice of Toronto beating them, not challenging them, beating them for a World Series with the most talented roster they've had, right? It just goes to show that very quickly, a team like the Sox or any team that's on the precipice of contending, just get talent. And if the talent shows up, anyone can win. Doesn't matter how good the team is. This is an individualized sport. And if you can get it done in your moment, anything can happen.
It's so true. And it really lends to the point of, it was so annoying the last couple of years with some Red Sox fans because, before we went out and got Crochet and Bregman, before we knew what Roman Anthony was, so many Red Sox fans just kept saying, well, just keep building the farm because the Dodgers are going to run baseball for the next 5 to 7 years anyway. So we should focus on developing the farm so that when the Dodgers run is over in 2027, 2028, whatever, then we can be contenders. And to Chris's point, you can't do it that way. And Toronto chose not to. Toronto didn't sit around and say, well, we could pay Vlad Jr., this ridiculous historic contract, but yeah, that's a lot of money, and the Dodgers are just going to win anyway, so let's just get rid of him. Like, no, they signed him up. They locked him up long term. They said, you're the cornerstone of our franchise. We're going to build around you. We're going to put good pitching, good fielding around you, and we're going to make a run for it. And now here they are. They're up 5-1 in Game 5 of the World Series with a chance to go back to Toronto for the clinching game. Like, that's what you want. That's what I want the Red Sox doing. That's what I want every team in MLB doing. Like, I don't like the mentality of, well, the Dodgers are a wagon, so why bother? No, you should always be playing to win. And this goes from, big market teams like the Red Sox and Blue Jays to even the smaller market teams, who I think now finally are starting to have the microscope turned on them. Teams like the Pirates, the Brewers, the Rays, who, and I get it, like, it's harder for them to make money, but you still make quite a bit. I think I read that, like, the Brewers' total revenue this year was like 350 million plus, and their payroll is only like 185. So where's all that other money going? Like, and now you turn around and say you got to trade Freddie Peralta after getting swept out of the NLCS. Like, I think this is a chance to prove that if you have a generational talent like a Paul Skeens, an Ellie De La Cruz, a Freddie Peralta there in Milwaukee, like you should be building around those guys, not just dreading the day that you have to pay them and then saying, okay, well, we're going to trade him because we don't want to spend the money. This is proof like the Pirates, as weird as it sounds, you've got the pitcher. If they can add on offense, if they decide to actually pull their heads out of their asses, which that ownership group probably not, but in a perfect world, if they decide to start really spending and building around Paul Skeens, they could win that division. And then from there, again, look at Toronto. They won their division, got a good seed in the playoffs. Look what happened. So I wanted to. That's kind of why, like, I am pulling for Toronto. I know that it's weird to pull for a division rival, but I want them to show the rest of the baseball world, from the top market teams to the bottom, that like, once you get the star, build around him. Don't just say, well, we don't want to pay him. Like, build around them and compete. That's what every team should be trying to do.
Yeah, totally agree.
I'm definitely rooting for Toronto, but when I look at the Dodgers, I just wonder, like, is it good or bad for baseball that they are the team that they are, built the way that they are, from a financial standpoint? And teams need to spend. I mean, the most egregious thing we've heard in the last week is that the Tigers are going to make Tarek Skubal available this winter. That's so bad. That is so bad for baseball. And I gave the take not too long ago. Yeah, it'd be great to have Skubal on the Red Sox, but you know what? I'd rather Skubal stay in Detroit. I'd rather Detroit be a powerhouse again, because baseball is a better sport when teams like Detroit are powerhouses. And the irony here is we just laughed coming into the playoffs here. I mean, who in the American League looked formidable against the Dodgers ultimately that ended up getting there, or against the Phillies? I thought the Phillies, this might finally be the year. No one in the American League looked formidable, and so it's crazy. Seattle took a big step forward, and I think that's a talented team who absolutely belonged here. But the other thing too, when we're weighing whether it's good or it's bad that the Dodgers are like that, I think one common thing all these World Series have in common is that just about all of them had a robust offense. The only one kind of exception that comes to my mind is the 2015 Kansas City Royals. I mean, they had a bunch of really good players, but not a bunch of really great players. They had Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, who was like a strikeout machine. Salvador Perez, I think, might have been the World Series MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Ben Zobrist was on that team. I think Lorenzo Cain was on that team. So they had a lot of decent players, but they didn't have a generational talent. So that's probably the one exception. And when you're looking at this Red Sox free agency coming up, I mean, Roman Anthony might be a generational talent, but who knows? And he could have a sophomore slump next year. The Red Sox absolutely need to add bats. And we've been screaming from the mountaintops the past several winters, we need pitching, and we did. But you have to put it all together. And Toronto does have it all together. And their window, I said all last winter, it's closing. They blew it. They blew it in the worst way possible. They had all this talent, and Guerrero hadn't even been extended yet. I'm like, they just blew it so bad. They're going to be the biggest underachieving team of this century. And they finally put it together. And now you have Addison Barger emerging, Ernie Clement. Vlad is locked up. I don't know what that Nathan Lucas guy is going to amount to. I mean, he's a 31-year-old rookie. So I guess we'll see. Davis Schneider is a nice role player on the team, but But when I look at them, perhaps the window is just beginning, because you've got so many of those guys I just mentioned for quite a while, and they're going to lose Gosman this winter. But now you have the kid that's pitching tonight, you Savage. He just needs to change his name to Savage. Ditch the YE at the front. It doesn't flow. He is a Savage on the mound. Just go with that. But yeah, so I think the future for Toronto could be really interesting.
Jason, can I just answer Terry's question real quick before I forget?
Of course.
So your question was, do you think it's good for the Dodgers as far as baseball? And I do think it's good for baseball. I truly believe that every sport, it is good to have a villain, right? And every sport has a villain. The Dodgers have become what the Yankees used to be. They are the villain of baseball now. The Yankees are not what the Yankees once were. And you look at every major sport, right? Like the Panthers are the villain in the NHL, the two-time Stanley Cup champions. In basketball, year to year, it's either the Celtics, the Lakers, something like that. And, with football, you have the Chiefs. The good thing about having a villain and when there's a clear-cut favorite is it gives every team basically there's where you're shooting for, right? That is the line that we have to be at to try and have greatness, to try and compete for a championship. It doesn't mean that team's always going to win, but it gives you a really good barometer of where you need to be to compete on a year in and year out basis. So that's why I think it's good for the sport. Now, what I also think is good, what's unique about all these different teams is they're not the normal villain, right? Like the Dodgers aren't the Yankees. I mean, they're in a pretty big market, but like the Yankees were the villain. In the NFL, you got the Cowboys. I think in basketball is probably the only exception, but the Chiefs, they're not the Cowboys. So the fact that we have these villains in all these sports and it's not the normal teams that we're accustomed to is a good thing. And it forces those teams that once were villains to try and become them again. And I'm hoping that the Red Sox can decide one day that they want to be a freaking villain. Because listen, we used to be the lovable team, the lovable losers that everyone was like, oh yeah, we can get behind them because we know they're not going to win. Then we won some championships and people started to not like us. But I mean, we're kind of a joke now at this point where we're extremely inconsistent. So I think it's good for baseball. I don't know what you guys think.
I do. Yeah, I do. I think too many teams don't spend. And, I think we all would love if the Red Sox spend like the Dodgers do. I don't think we'd be complaining. I know I wouldn't be. It's good to see at least one team, one ownership say, F it. These teams don't want to pay up. We'll pay up. We'll give these guys more money than they've ever seen, and they'll come play for us, and we'll win World Series. And right now, that's how the rules are in the league, and I have no problem with it.
The important thing here is, we're going to have an interesting, not this winter, but the following winter. I don't expect there'll be a 2027 season, but, when I look at that Dodgers team, I don't see it being a financially sustainable model. I think it's well past the extreme. I think they're paying several $100 million in luxury tax fees. I think the Mets are there too. So that's part of it. And I think we're going to see a market correction here. I really do. And the Blue Jays have a relatively high payroll. I think they're a top 5 or 6, nothing egregious. They're under 300. And I think the luxury tax gets into the 250s. Or actually, maybe it doesn't.
I thought it was 224 was the luxury tax.
No, it's in the, you know what?
All
It
right.
is in the 250s. Now that I think about it, it's like 251 or 253. I can pull it up here in a second, but I just feel like you don't have to go on that drunken spending spree. You can spread the money out a bit as as a lot of teams have. So I hope the players union gets their way. I don't want to see a strike. Excuse me. I don't want to see a salary cap. And I definitely don't want to see a strike, but I just think the market will fix itself. Everything will regress back to the mean. How many years of this peak Shohei do they really have left? 2 or 3 at the most, I would say. And he'll still be pretty good, but he's not going to be perennial MVP. I mean, look at how fast Mike Trout fell off, at a much younger age. So it can happen quick. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with the way salaries are structured in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, the money stuff tends to figure itself out in baseball. There was that free agency year a couple years ago where it was all the shortstops, Tree Turner, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, and Tree Turner got 11 years, Bogarts got 11 years, and we're all kind of sitting here going, "Whoa, that's insane." And Terry, you've brought it up before with Tree Turner, like 11 years for a guy who based his game on speed. Like, good luck with that. The Phillies going to be hating that pretty soon. Um, and I don't know what Dansby got, but he got close to like 8 or 9 years, something like that. And I think after that offseason, a lot of people around baseball went, okay, that's too much. That's insane to be giving out that many 10-plus year contracts to, good players. But then you look at what happened. Xander Bogaerts dropped off a cliff to begin his contract. Now he sort of has gotten himself back a little bit, but he's not nearly, worth the contract that he signed. He's okay now, but not nearly worth it. Dansby Swanson, yeah, he's a nice player, but is he really elevating the Cubs to where they need to go? No. I mean, that was Kyle Tucker and that was Seiya Suzuki this year that led that offense. And then Trey Turner, yeah, 11-year deal. He's still a good player. Has Philly won since he signed there? So I think that sort of forced a market correction on its own with teams saying, well, yeah, we want free agents, but we're not giving you any longer than a 6 or 7 year deal. We're not going back to the 10-plus year thing. That's ridiculous. Unless you're Juan Soto, unless you're truly like a generational guy, we're not going to do that. So with the Dodgers and what they did with Shohei with the deferred money, I mean, if Shohei is done in, let's say, 4 or 5 years, I don't know how much longer he's got left, as you said, like at his peak. And then, we go years later and it's like, oh yeah, they're still paying Shohei. Like it's Shohei check day. And the Dodgers only got like 1 World Series out of him or 2. Like, that'll force a correction. Teams will go, well, that deferred money thing is stupid. I don't, most owners are going to look at that and go, I don't want to pay a guy until 2050. They may not even be the owner at that point. So I think that will correct itself. I don't think baseball needs to like step in to stop that. I think the other owners will kind of look at that and go, especially if the Dodgers don't pull this off, they'll look at it and go, well, what good did that do you? You spent, hundreds of millions of dollars in luxury tax. You're paying Shohei until the end of time, and you still couldn't beat the Blue Jays, who just, signed their generational guy, got some pitching, added some guys at the deadline, and won. Like, that model still works. So I agree. Like, I don't think that we have to do this radical, like, I personally said I was in favor of the salary cap, mainly because I wanted the salary floor for these pathetic teams that don't spend. But I'll be fine if we don't get that and we still just get a resolution to it at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to strike. So if the whole hang up is the salary cap, then I don't care. Don't put the salary cap in. If that's what is preventing them from playing baseball in 2027, then I would tell Manfred and the owners, drop it. Just, it'll figure itself out. The money stuff always figures itself out. And I think you're right. I think it'll be just another market correction after this because those 11, 12-year deals, those are pretty rare. They're not happening anymore. So that already corrected itself. And I think stuff like the deferred money and all that will too.
And the newer model here is to sign him young, which the Red Sox have sort of embraced. I don't know how it's. I mean, it's not huge money for Rafael and Campbell, but it's not. They're not trending in the right direction. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But the other major consequence, if let's say the owners get their way and there's a salary cap, you better have a smart executive that knows how to work within the constraints. Because if your guy's a dumbass, like, he can't spend his way out of it, you know? What if you made so many stupid moves that you couldn't give Crochet that extension last year? So I think they just need to leave it the way that it is.
Yeah, it's a good point, Terry. I think, as Red Sox fans, we would probably be concerned because I think there's a lot of us that don't have the most confidence in our GM with Breslow. But there's also probably guys that we would say, oh, I think that's a good GM, that have overpaid, use the fact that they're in a big market and have the money and the finances available to them to just do whatever the hell they want, get rid of prospects at any and all costs, and are frivolous, that might actually also be exposed in that type of system with a salary cap, because they're not going to be able to do that to get themselves out of it. So I think that the talent pool of GMs, if there was a salary cap in Major League Baseball, would shrink quite a bit.
I think a salary cap would finally be the thing that gets Brian Cashman fired. Because the amount of stupid money and stupid contracts that guy hands out just because he can, I mean, he'd be so screwed. So it would, you're right, it would expose a lot of GMs that, in these bigger markets that just, they just throw the money around because they can. And, oh, well, that DJ LeMahieu contract didn't work out. Oh, well, yeah, that's fine. We'll deal with it. We're the Yankees. We'll make it up. It's all right.
Even a Dave Dombrowski. I mean, he knows how to spend money, but he also knows how to trade prospects. It'd be interesting to see someone like him who hasn't had some of the missteps from a result standpoint that Brian Cashman has with the financial, ramifications tied to it. But yeah, I think that you would see a lot of guys that I think that we think are favorable today. We would have different opinions of them tomorrow if there was.
I think Dombrowski is fine. Like, he's probably in the last few years of his career now, if even that. And I don't know if Philly's going to get it done. Maybe they'll be the Blue Jays next year and they finally do get it going. But, before Dombrowski got there, they'd made the playoffs, or maybe they hadn't made the playoffs since 2009 when they lost to the Yankees defending their title, and they had that long ass drought. So, I mean, if Dombrowski doesn't get a championship in Philly, he can at least say he changed the culture and made it, a winning franchise again and an exciting team to watch. So so I don't think he's got anything. And speaking of, does anyone know what's going on with Harper? I haven't dived into it, but
there's rumors that that they're looking to trade him.
Well, I think it's actually, from what I've read, it's more Harper might be the one leading that charge. I think that there was rumors that there may be interest in having a conversation with him, because let's face it, I believe he has some sort of rights, or probably no trade clause.
10-5 rights. Yeah, they
10-5 rights.
They can't trade him unless he approves it.
But from what I understand, he's the one who's kind of getting upset at this point, and now be the one who's going to ask for a trade. And if he does that, that changes everything. So I don't know. And of course, it's just like every other big name. You see him tied to the Red Sox and a couple of other teams. But yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens with him.
I'd be surprised, but
Well, I was going to ask. I mean, we'll just go around. Do you guys want Bryce Harper? Yes or no?
I mean, it depends what we're giving up for him. I think it's hard.
Let's say all you had to give up was a package of like a Franklin Arias, one of your pitchers, whether it's Tolley early or like a Dobbins or something, and like one lower level prospect that you probably never heard of. What if it was something like that?
I'd do it.
Probably, yeah.
Because I can't imagine they're going to get, like, you're not getting any team's top 3 prospects given his age and his contract.
Well, and the fact that he'd be the one who's initiating this and has all the power in it.
Yeah.
I would do it just for the sheer fact. I mean, listen, he could play first base, certainly can play DH.
Yep.
And he's better than anyone we have. Like, and that's just a fact at this point. Yeah, I hope Roman Anthony could become half of the next Bryce Harper. But until he stays healthy and proves that he can, There's no one on this team that's better than him, and that's just a fact.
So the short answer for me is yes, I absolutely would. He just turned 33 years old, which is insane because he's been in the league forever, since I think like 2011,
I want to say he
2012.
was in there since 18, right?
Yeah,
18
just
years
like
old, yeah.
Soto. Yeah, and so I would do it. He has 6 years remaining. There's no options. There's no weird clauses. He is set for the next 3 of his 6 remaining seasons. Next 3 seasons, 27 million per year, and then it drops down to 23 million per year. So that's not a bad contract. There's been a lot of inflation since he signed that. That was a top 3 or 4 contract at the time. So I would do it. I don't think there's many people in baseball that want to win a championship worse than Bryce Harper. And, he could start off by playing first base. And hey, who drafted Casas? It was Dombrowski. let's put him in the trade. And yeah, and then maybe the last 2 or 3 years Harper will DH.
Yeah. Yeah, but for the next, 2, at least I would say you got 30 plus, 100 plus RBIs. Is he gonna, like you said, last couple, maybe he's a DH. I don't think he's got 6 years left at a high level, but I think it'd be worth just having 2 or 3 high level years out of him on this team right now.
Yeah, 100%. I would do it because again, like I don't see the package being anything that you're gonna lament. Like
Right.
I think you will. Yeah, you'll have to give up some minor leaguers for sure, but we're not talking about trading Marcelo Meyer or Roman Anthony for this kid. Like no, it's Bryce Harper who's turning 33 and he's demanding a trade. So Philly would lose all the leverage, and you can say to them, well, we'll give you Arias, maybe Tolley. I don't know, but pick whatever pitcher you want that you don't believe in or something, and yeah, throw Casas in there. Why not? I would absolutely do it. Will the Red Sox actually do it? No.
No.
Because John Henry does not want any part. Why would he trade away Rafael Devers and then take on Bryce Harper? Like, no way. But it's a fun thought.
I mean, I got to be honest now. I didn't realize the financials were actually that favorable. The fact that it is, I mean, this might sound crazy. I would throw Christian Gamble. Like that would be my highlight if I had to get him because I thought he was making a lot more than that. Honestly, I mean,
Guys,
he's making ridiculously low money.
It's way simpler than you think. 1-for-1, Jarren Duran for Bryce Harper. Is Duran going to give them exactly what Harper's giving them? Probably not. But if you factor in the money, I think Dombrowski takes it, and he sees a lot of upside with Duran anyway. Just do it. I'm gonna put that into the universe tomorrow, just because it's been quiet.
Yeah,
But
I'll do that in a second.
yeah. So I think that's all it really has to be, and you could throw a Tanner Houck type guy in there, which will be a lottery ticket. I think he has upside in some role, whether it's in the rotation or in the bullpen. I still think his future is somewhat promising. But yeah, that's how I would do it.
I love it. Yeah, I'd absolutely 100% be on board for that. So before we wrap up, just a quick thing I wanted to throw around and just, doesn't have to be too long on this, but we had another 18-inning marathon World Series game the other night, which gave us an incredible performance out of Will Klein, guy that most of us had never heard of, had his native Aldi kind of moment. Which obviously leads to the discussion: should the Ghost Runner be in the playoffs as well? Are you guys in or out on a Ghost Runner for the playoffs?
I'm out on that.
You're out?
Yeah, I'm out.
I feel like I'm one of the few that's in on the regular season Ghost Runner. I actually do like that rule because I don't think there should be 18-inning regular season games. I don't think there's a need for that. But postseason, definitely not.
Yeah, I'm 100% out on it in the playoffs. I mean, you get some of these crazy magic moments by the fact they are 18 innings. which I think the Dodgers were the last 18 inning against the Red Sox, and I should have known that when they won that like they did, they would end up losing the series. Yeah, I'm 100% out in the playoffs. It's funny, in the regular season, I'm for it. I'm actually for maybe altering it only because every time we have a ghost runner, the Red Sox can't score and they're giving up runs so quick. Putting the guy in first, but that's my take.
I'm out on it altogether. I hate that rule. During the regular season, I get a ton of anxiety. Even this season, I'm like, all right, well, we've burnt Whitlock, we've burnt Chapman. Who are we getting? And we got Hicks a couple of times. How'd that go? So I don't like it. I just rather clean innings. And, I get the distinguishing between regular season and postseason. Not one time during that 18 inning was I like, oh my God, this game sucks. I hate this. I was like, we're watching high stakes baseball here. And I was so bummed because why did they pitch to Shohei in the 6th or 7th, whenever it was? And then there was some bad base running, but I didn't have a problem with it. They died trying a couple of times. And I think, it was hard to string together hits, try to go ahead and manufacture the run. And I forgot my other thing there. Oh, the other moment where I think they kind of blew it, and it was mostly Nathan Lucas. He had the count full, and he swung at 3 straight balls with the bases loaded. If he would have just laid off, the run comes in. Blue Jays might win the World Series tonight. Had it worked out that way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys. I like it in the regular season. I think it's fine. Could you maybe tweak it a little bit? Sure, but I think ultimately not having 5-6 hour games during the regular season is nice. Not in the playoffs though. Like they don't really do it in any other sport except soccer. And they eventually go to penalty kicks, but like hockey, they just keep playing. They'll do triple overtime if they have to. So it shouldn't be any different in baseball. It's the World Series. Like, can you imagine losing a World Series game because you had a ghost runner on second and some guy hits like a little duck squirt, like a little blooper into center, and like that's how you win a World Series game? No, like that should happen more organically, I think. So just wanted to toss it around because a lot of people brought it up. A lot of talking heads brought it up. It's like, oh, well, these games getting too long. Should that be implemented in the postseason? And no, I don't think they'll ever do it. And I think that we're all in agreement that it's not necessary. So, because that was pretty fun the other night. So,
I want to say this super quick. I think Nathan Eovaldi's performance in 2018 was by far more heroic than what we saw the other night. As good of a job as Klein did, as what was it, Lauer on the Blue Jays, all were fantastic. But to me, I thought Eovaldi's performance was just epic, and that really set the tone for the rest of his career. He got paid. He's still, he's injury prone, but he's still pitching at a high level. His ERA was like so low, and then he got hurt again. So
100%.
What would be interesting to know is that what's the percentage of those games that go past a certain inning, ending in a home run? Because I feel like once it gets past a certain inning, these games always end in a home run.
They do. Yeah, because they're swinging for the fences. They're just trying to end it, which I hate. Yeah. I'm a big just keep the line moving guy. String together some hits, get into scoring position, and magic things will happen. But
yeah, and that's what Smoltz even said on the broadcast. Like, yeah, like at this point, they're all it's all launch angle. No one is up there just trying to hit it up the middle or trying to hit it, through the right side or opposite field. They're all just trying to launch because it's late. We've been playing this for 6 hours. Like, they're all trying to go home on one swing, and eventually Freddie Freeman did it. So, yeah, I don't mind that stuff at all. So looks like Blue Jays are on their way. Obviously, they've still got a little bit to go, but up 6-1 as they're about to wrap up the 8th inning. So we'll see how they do. Blue Jays might be going up 3-2 tonight, and we'll see how the rest of the World Series goes. It's been a fun one, been a good series, so hope we get a good finish to it. We'll be back with you guys probably at the conclusion of the World Series at some point this weekend. We'll see how all that shakes out, but we'll be back on the air soon with you guys, so enjoy the rest